Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about a story that I saw right before I was ready to get married, because it's my absolute favorite headline, and upon looking further into it, upon digging deeper, it's even more interesting and ridiculous from both sides of the equation, and that, of course, is the left-wing prosecutor, the Sacramento district attorney or city attorney, telling this target not to call 911 anymore, and if they did call 911, she was actually going to charge them as a public nuisance because, of course, in the state of California, they don't care about retail theft. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, thank you to everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to everyone who tweeted at Team YouTube to help correct my monetization issue. It has been corrected, and I have issued refunds to everyone who donated via PayPal and Venmo based on the fact that I lost monetization. Not gonna take your money for a problem that was resolved the same day I uploaded my video about the problem. Again, thank you guys so much.
For that, new at 8, the city attorney in Sacramento threatening a Target store with a public nuisance charge if employees continue to call police for ongoing thefts.
So right off the top, when I was first introduced to this story a couple of weeks ago, it was based on this 39-second local news little quick piece. Now, I absolutely hate these pieces because obviously based on the time that they're running, you don't get adequate information from that. But right from the top, I was very intrigued by the idea that the city attorney got caught telling this target that they would be charged with public nuisance if they continuously reported thefts that were happening in their store. And the reason why I found this so interesting is because we see all this different various data across the country about how crime actually down, even though what we see is it up, and we've talked a lot about the lack of reporting that is well documented on a macro scale in the national crime data, especially with the switch over of how the Uniform Crime Report is actually tabulated, but this is a perfect micro example of how you can manipulate crime data. Remember, if you're measuring reports and you stop people from reporting, or they decide to stop reporting, that will give the illusion that crime is going down. But when you see the businesses still closing, when you see all the different issues associated with crime, it doesn't line up with the data. And here what we have appears to be a perfect example of a Sacramento district attorney trying to juke the stats, trying to obscure reality from people when they can see what is going on in this target. But the story is actually even more interesting than that, and we have to go to a different local news segment where they break down the issues, because what you'll find out is Target is not an innocent victim in this particular scenario.
Target store turnaround? Land Park neighbors say in the battle over retail theft statewide, police and the retail giant have worked to clean up a big problem spot in downtown Sacramento that had become overwhelmed with crime.
In tonight's Politics at Large, Steve is live in Land Park with a change with Target's new practice of crime prevention.
So one of the things that you find about this story is that this warning issued to the Target was actually an old warning that was only discovered by the public recently. And in reality, in actuality, you have an issue of a prosecutor and a state that doesn't want to prosecute anyone for anything, but also a Target, a company that has decided that they're not going to cooperate with the investigation. So while you do have issues with employees calling 911 on thieves, that has aggravated the Sacramento city attorney, in reality, the main people calling 911 are actually customers in the store who are witnessing these rampant, absurd thefts, and they obviously know it's wrong, so they try to get the problem corrected. So even in the instances where the police do show up, what ultimately ends up happening is the Target would not cooperate with these particular officers in order to prosecute the thieves. And of course, that has led to an avenue of lawlessness just being created right in this major downtown Target. And of course, we see all the different various things in the Target being locked up, being padlocked, being prevented from being accessible to the actual customers in the store, because this is the reality that we have to live in. No longer can we have enough trust in our society to have products on the shelves that you bring up to the register yourself in order to check out. Everything has to be locked. Everything has to be accessible only via an employee, and that doesn't prevent the theft. But we hear from this local news segment that this Target has reached a deal with the city attorneys, reached a deal with the police, and unfortunately, this is a very California deal because it does not address the actual core of the problem.
Well, we've all seen the viral videos that have made retail theft a problem and a political issue all across the state.
First of all, I just want to say for everybody out there in the audience, I absolutely love the local news. And for my podcast listeners, you may not realize that this local news guy, for no reason other than to convenience actual shoppers, is doing this segment while pushing a Target cart. Why they decided to make this choice to maybe establish in your brain that he's actually at Target, even though the building is right behind him, only God knows, but I appreciate the goofiness of the local news, and while they do provide us information, let us never forget that these are the goofiest operations in the entire country.
It got so bad here, we've learned that the city attorney's office even drafted a nuisance letter against this Target store last year. Since then, things have changed. This cell phone video from 2023 shows thieves at this downtown Target store loading up shopping carts of merchandise and taking off through a side door.
Now look, I am somebody who enjoys a good heist movie. I'm somebody who enjoys a perfectly executed kind of super crime. I used to love the show Masterminds that would go over these high IQ, very intelligent, very slick criminals, and this is clearly not it. This is what happens when you invite lawlessness into your entire state. You have criminals just blatantly stealing, not even trying to obscure their face, and this is because there are no consequences for this. We all know Prop 47 basically made it impossible to hold any petty thieves accountable, but even beyond that, other changes in California law means that if you're committing a quote-unquote non-violent crime, you can never be sent to prison, so you end up being tossed in the county jail is full, so you end up getting released same day automatically. This is why one of my favorite stories that I often reference and show you the thumbnail for, the snake burglar, ended up getting convicted of 76 felony burglaries, and despite the fact that he should have went away for decades, he was just released onto the streets.
I mean, literally, people were pushing carts full of items out the emergency exit door, and the security guards were just closing the door and walking away.
Land Park activist Stephanie Duncan even sent police a message about the crime, only to get this response from a lieutenant reading, "Thanks, Stephanie. Unfortunately, without Target participating, Sacramento police couldn't take enforcement action."
So this is where the story gets incredibly interesting and compelling, because right now you have a dynamic between the Sacramento police who want to do law enforcement action, you have the Sacramento city attorney in the state of California who doesn't want to prosecute anyone for anything, you have the citizens who want law enforcement action, but it appears that Target, either because they know there's no actual consequences for crime, or because they completely bend the knee to the Black Lives Matter riots, which we saw in Minneapolis when they ended up rebuilding the store in the image of the looters that destroyed the store, doesn't want to take action. So rather than the straightforward scenario that we often see, which is businesses versus these woke district attorneys, what we actually have in this situation is them kind of being on the same page. But it's fascinating to wonder how they actually got this way. Is it because the laws in California are tailored in such a way to benefit the criminal that it's actually pointless in the business's mind in order to engage with said criminal? Or is it because they happen to share the same ideology? No one really knows, but what I do know is that there's definitely blame to go around. And also, the people who are going to suffer from this are the people who rely on Target for low prices, rely on Target for groceries, rely on Target for everyday goods. They pay higher prices due to the cost of theft, and they're the ones who will be without once this store eventually closes.
It told me that a year ago, Target was really not doing their due diligence to crack down on crime.
Now, of course, this lady has a low IQ engagement with this problem. She says, it really told me that Target is not doing their part, but as I said, it could be because California's not doing their part, so it's just good money going after bad if Target decided that they wanted to prevent this from happening. Now, of course, this segment is spun in a very positive way. They're saying that the problem is solved, that Target has reached this agreement, they're stepping up their enforcement, it's going to change everything, but the fact of the matter is, it's not going to change anything. They have not stepped up their enforcement. All they've done is given us a better perspective on the thieves, but that's not going to actually change anything or lead to any prosecutions, because guess what? The thieves were not hiding their identity before. Remember, they showed us this video of a man with a whole shopping cart worth of goods going out the emergency exit, which sounds an alarm that everybody can hear, and Target wasn't doing anything. This isn't a problem of the fact that the thieves are somehow stealthily getting away with this. These are brute force robberies. Like I said in the open, this is not an elaborate, ingenious heist. This is thuggery. bribery. This is the most blatant, obvious crap that you could possibly see, and the agreement that they brokered with the police is so that they can make things more visible but not actually do anything about it.
Now, Duncan says Target has taken a new approach. As first reported by the Sacramento Bee and confirmed by City Hall sources, the city attorney's office crafted a draft letter that was not sent, warning about nuisance action against Target. Corporate management then worked with Sacramento city leaders and police on theft mitigation, adding security, lighting, and locking down merchandise.
Now, maybe I don't hear as good as I used to. Maybe I'm getting up there in age a little bit too much, but it sounded like to me that they didn't actually change anything of substance. They're not actually going to do anything in terms of prosecutions or actually preventing theft. And all that we saw is the same steps that we've seen in other stores that don't prevent theft. It sounds like to me they said they increase lighting, they're going to lock down more merchandise, and hire more security guards. But in reality, in actuality, we heard in the open of this story with the local news video with this woman talking that all that would happen when the security would spot these thieves is they would close the door after the thieves. They would not try to interfere in any way, shape, or form. They would not try to get involved. And the fact of the matter is, if you don't do any of that, all you've done is made the targets brighter. All you've done is put more merchandise behind those glass cases for the criminals to break into it, which is what we've seen happen time and time again. So nothing has changed of substance. Nothing has gotten better in Sacramento, and there is no pledge at all from the Sacramento city attorney to prosecute these retail thieves. Now, we talked about on this channel how the voters are putting Proposition 47 on the ballot again. They wanted to repeal it, and Gavin Newsom is using every single dirty trick in order to fight it off the ballot. In fact, one of the reasons why, and the main reason why Gavin Newsom wants to keep this, is because he's endorsed Prop 47 over and over and over again, and he thinks it getting gone is going to ruin his legacy as a potential presidential candidate. Again, we did a whole video on this channel on this before. You could check it out. It'll be linked in the description and in the iCard for YouTube viewers. So California is not working on anything trying to fight against these retail theft problems. Target is not going to be calling 911 or actually using their security guards to detain suspects. And the Sacramento city attorney is not pledging to prosecute anyone for anything.
I hope they continue on that trajectory because I've seen what happens when they don't.
Sacramento Councilmember Rick Jennings represents this area and issued a statement reading in part Target's acknowledgement of the problems and ongoing efforts to enhance both the customer and neighboring community experience are greatly appreciated.
I fully support this effort.
As state lawmakers haggle over crime laws and Prop 47 reforms, threats of nuisance letters from cities and police have also become part of the public debate.
I was shocked here to hear people now being threatened with being declared a nuisance.
Surprised to hear that anyone would ever attempt to make a nuisance case.
Now, it's important for you guys to understand when they talk about the state legislature going after these retail crimes and all that those bills were dead on arrival. In fact, Gavin Newsom's team said that they would not produce any bills to fix it unless the team behind Prop 47 withdrew their ballot initiative. So essentially, they were holding them hostage. But it is interesting that, of course, these nuisance letters that were drafted by the city attorney in Sacramento are very common throughout the state. And a bunch of people in the legislature are very upset about this. But again, remember, what they're trying to do is not actually address theft. They're trying to deter reporting. They're trying to hold the businesses accountable for making them look bad instead of holding the criminal accountable for their actions. And Gavin Newsom and all these different politicians keep calling law enforcement completely outdated. It's not going to solve the issue, but we've already seen the consequences of when you pull law enforcement back. And the great thing about Prop 47 is that it was actually initiated before the pandemic, so we can actually see retail theft spike before the pandemic. We know it's due to the policy. We know it's due to what they did on a legal level, and they should be held accountable for it.
In California's battle over retail theft,
I think it's just a matter of Target actually taking proactive steps to stop theft.
So they talk about how the business and all these different people need to take proactive steps. We need to be proactive. But the fact of the matter is, while I have nothing against being proactive, you also need to be reactive. When the crime is actually committed, when your theft deterrents don't actually work, you need to react with consequences in order to hold the criminal accountable. Because guess what? Reacting to crimes and holding people accountable for crimes that were committed is a proactive step in deterring the next crimes. In holding that person accountable and incapacitating them so they don't do it again. They're missing a huge part of this equation, and what this Target story is indicative of is not one rogue Sacramento district attorney, but a culture that has been instilled in the state of California, and a new common practice that we've discovered through this whole process that city attorneys are using all over the state in order to reduce reporting. So yeah, this is absolutely the man behind the curtain being revealed. Your emperor has no clothes moment, and I want people to remember how important this story is, and this is why I thought about it so much while I was on my honeymoon, and I knew I had to address it as soon as I got back. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about Target not reporting these crimes? Is that due to the fact that they're a woke corporation, or due to the fact that in the state of California, it's kind of pointless to do so, or a combination of both? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. As usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Target getting a threatening letter for reporting crimes. Till next time.